I like Kaiserreich. I think it's one of the best Hearts of Iron 4 mods ever made, and much of the community would say the same. But what is Kaiserreich? For those who don't know, Kaiserreich is a Hearts of Iron 4 total conversion mod built around a simple question. What if the Central Powers won World War I? From that premise, Kaiserreich has grown into one of the most in-depth Hearts of Iron 4 mods ever made, with content spanning the entire globe. It's also one of the oldest alt history projects in the community, originating all the way back in 2005 as a Hearts of Iron 2 mod based on the White victory in the Russian Civil War. Since then, Kaiserreich has evolved into arguably the most popular HOI4 mod ever made, to the point where it's become a brand, complete with affiliated projects and even merchandise. But nothing is perfect, and Kaiserreich certainly isn't. So with some help from some of the developers, including Matoro, let's look at why Kaiserreich has become the hallmark HOI4 mod and what kind of complaints are coming from the community. In Kaiserreich, content gets reworked. That's just a fact, and naturally this comes with criticism, but there's a big reason why Kaiserreich doesn't generate the same level of widespread outrage that you see with mods like TNO or the Great War Redux when reworks happen. When Kaiserreich removes content, they usually replace it with something new and meaningful. When I spoke to developers, we discussed the Russia rework, where long-standing tags like Don Cuban and Transamur were removed. Instead of simply cutting content, Kaiserreich compensated by introducing the Far Eastern Army and the Free Russian Army, maintaining both narrative depth and gameplay variety. This reflects a broader philosophy within Kaiserreich. They try not to remove old content without giving players something back in return. To achieve this, Kaiserreich focuses its resources on core gameplay, rather than what can only be described as fluff. This is why Kaiserreich doesn't have sub-ideologies, super events, or highly experimental mechanics. Instead, it aims for what can be called vanilla plus vibes. That means no custom tech trees, a familiar HOI4 structure usually with a clear build-up phase, and a near guaranteed global war around 1939. This allows Kaiserreich to polish the fundamentals, AI behavior, balance, focus tree designs, and so much more, all to a much higher standard than most total conversion mods. This is also why Kaiserreich has such a large testing team. They don't just make content, they actively try to make sure it plays well. Kaiserreich's dev team is massive, but surprisingly structured without being suffocating. Instead of one head developer, Kaiserreich operates under a group of 7 Kaiser devs. These function almost like a HR department, handling moderation, recruitment, policy, and long-term direction. Below them are around 20 developers, but developer in Kaiserreich isn't a casual title. Developers are usually experienced coders, people who've completed at least one country, and often specialists in their region. Some of these are regional developers, each overseeing an entire geographical area. For instance, Kaiserdev Matoro is responsible for Eastern Europe. This structure allows for strong regional coherence, but also creates uneven depth. China's team, for example, is extremely organized and interconnected, which is why it's widely considered some of the best content in HOI4 modding. Other regions with fewer hands on deck, though, naturally lag behind. Maintenance is also a huge burden. Kaiserreich is so complex that it requires dedicated developers just to keep old content functional. According to the developers, major reworks usually have 2 to 4 people working full-time on them. At the time of writing, Kaiserreich reportedly has 90 coders, 60 testers, 10 artists, alongside moderators, wiki editors, advisors, and contributors. It's not just a mod team, it's essentially a small studio. Kaiserreich is probably the closest thing HOI4 modding has to a professional organization. Yet, despite its size, Kaiserreich avoids rigid, top-down assignment of tasks. Developers work on what they're passionate about, not what they're ordered to do. This works in Kaiserreich's favor because despite not having consistent people working in a rigid framework, the sacrifices of the testing team and the aforementioned maintenance people paired with passion and pure motivation allows Kaiserreich to maintain its high quality standards. Although with the drawbacks of reworks having varying pace. Hungry fans, I see you. But it's not total freedom because Kaiserreich also enforces low tolerance for internal drama, no modern politics influencing content design, and strong moderation standards. Authority is spread out enough that no one single person can hijack the mod's direction. This is described by Matoro as institutional resilience, where the structure is strong enough that even if one person leaves, messes up, or intentionally tries to destroy the project survives. And honestly, it shows. HOI4 modding is infamous for drama, yet Kaiserreich almost never ends up in public controversies. That's not just luck, that's the result of 20 years of experience. Kaiserreich's Vanilla Plus approach is all about restraint. Instead of flashy mechanics and cinematic gimmicks, Kaiserreich prioritizes things such as solid focus trees, clean decision design, and event writing that contributes to gameplay. That said, Kaiserreich isn't perfect at this. Recent reworks, especially Germany, have drawn criticism for being overly complex with spreadsheet-like mechanics and overwhelming event spam. While the developers argue that Germany is meant to feel overwhelming and players can automate some mechanics, this criticism I find is fair. It does drift away from the Vanilla Plus ideal that Kaiserreich claims to follow. So yes, Kaiserreich does stumble sometimes, but unlike most mods, it actually listens. Kaiserreich is scripted, that's a fact. The Second American Civil War always happens now. Russia can't ally Germany anymore, and the Lawrence coup, where you could restore the UK in 1937, was removed. All of this is done for the sake of scripting, to guarantee that the Second World Krieg actually happens, with involvement of the Reichspakt, Internationale, and Russia, because without it, half the mod's content would break. But Kaiserreich balances this scripting with variety. A Second World Krieg has almost endless setups, endings, different countries, alliances, a different strength of alliances, and most importantly, the game-defining outcome. The world may be structured, but the outcomes aren't. This creates the perfect middle ground between sandbox gameplay and narrative coherence. The sacrifice, of course, has been iconic or notable content that was removed for this sake. And whilst I don't agree or disagree on whether Kaiserreich's old more memey style of content was better or not, thankfully Kaiser Redux exists if you want that old sort of style. That way, in each Kaiserreich game, you don't just watch RNG destroy it, but you're also not playing the same run every time either. Kaiserreich's legacy isn't just its age, but its consistency. Across 20 years, multiple games and thousands of contributors, the mod has remained in an orbit around its core identity. It constantly refines itself, balances gameplay and roleplay, and evolves without losing its soul. It isn't perfect, but it's stable, it's professional, and it respects both its developers and its players. And in the modding scene filled with implosions, that alone makes Kaiserreich exceptional. Kaiserreich isn't just a mod anymore, it's the standard. This video was sponsored by Pax Historia, an AI-powered alternate history grand strategy browser-based sandbox game. Players choose a nation at a specific point in time to rewrite history through interactive AI-driven storytelling, with options ranging from real historical scenarios to hypothetical events like alien invasions. Check them out in the description below.